They smile in your face. All the time they wanna take your place. The backstabbers. Keep your circle tight, cause the snakes slide close. The ones who claim they love you be the ones who hate you most. Smiling in your face while they plotting your demise. Studying your moves, memorizing your replies, to use against you later when the time is beneficial. To their advancement, they ain't genuine, they superficial. Relationships based on what they can extract from you, not what they can add, just what they can subtract. Through manipulation, through deception, through betrayal. These wolves in sheep clothing, they disguise never fails. To fool the trusting and naive, the ones who see the good in everybody. But I'm from the hood, I understood early that everybody ain't your friend who call you friend. That loyalty's conditional in most relationships. And when you can't provide them benefits, when you ain't got no more, used to them they disappear, don't come around no more. That's facts, that's life, that's human nature at its worst. Wolves in sheep clothing walking around my circle. Gotta watch who I trust, gotta stay alert though. Everybody ain't who they pretend to be. Wolves in sheep clothing, trying to get next to me. Keep my enemies close, but my friends closer still. Wolves in sheep clothing, they moving in for the kill, but I see them, my people, I know the game. Had a homie since elementary, rode together, grew together, shared everything, thought we'd be brothers forever. Then I started getting money, started making progress. He started moving funny, started acting more obnoxious, commenting on everything I bought, everything I did, disguising jealousy as jokes, but I peeped that I'm not a kid. I confronted him, he denied it, said I'm acting different since I got a little paper. Tried to flip the script and get it twisted, make me seem like I'm the one who changed, when really he's the one who couldn't handle me. Arranged different than before, couldn't handle that I grew beyond the limitations that we both were stuck into. We wanted me to stay stuck so we wouldn't feel left behind. That's not friendship, that's sabotage, that's the selfish kind of love that ain't really love, just possession and control. I had to cut them off to protect my peace, protect my soul. Wolves in sheep clothing, walking around my circle. Gotta watch who I trust, gotta stay alert though. Everybody ain't who they pretend to be. Wolves in sheep clothing, trying to get next to me. Keep my enemies close, but my friends closer still. Wolves in sheep clothing, they moving in for the kill, but I see them, my people, I know the game. Wolves in sheep clothing, they all look the same. Business partner tried to steal my whole operation. Thought I wasn't paying attention to the situation. How we moving, how we schmoozing with my clientele, making side deals, keeping separate books. I could tell something was off, something was wrong. My intuition never lies. I trusted my gut over his rendition of events. When I questioned him, he got defensive. That confirmed what I suspected. His behavior comprehensive of somebody guilty, somebody caught, somebody scared. I did my homework, gathered evidence, came prepared to the prompt of testing with the facts, with the proof. He couldn't deny, couldn't lie, couldn't hide the truth that he was stealing from me. Planning to take over what we built together, thinking I'm just a local soldier, not the general, not the architect, not the mind behind the operation. He got left behind, redefined our relationship from partners to enemies at war. Now I move different, now I trust different, now I see everybody with suspicion till they prove to me, through action, through consistency, through time invested, that they really who they claim to be. They really bout it, tested by circumstances that reveal character and truth. Not what they say but what they do, that's the proof. A loyalty, a love, a genuine connection. I learned the hard way about people's true intention. Most of them self-serving, most of them transactional, most of them conditional. Most relationships are fractional compared to what they could be if people kept it real. But wolves in sheep clothing everywhere, that's the deal. So I stay vigilant, I stay aware, I stay protected by boundaries, by discernment, by connections carefully selected, based on substance, based on history, based on demonstrated truth over time. Everybody else is just weighted and measured and found wanting, found fake, found phony. I'd rather be alone than surrounded by the lonely souls of people who don't really know themselves or me. Wolves in sheep clothing, but they can't get next to me. Wolves in sheep clothing, but they can't get next to me. Wolves in sheep clothing, not giving. Wolves in sheep clothing, loyalty is proven, not promise. Wolves in sheep clothing, watch the ones close to you. They know it's sheep clothing. Wolves in sheep clothing. Wolves in sheep clothing. I see you. I see you. Rule number 1: never hustle where you rest at. Rule number 2: always have an exit plan. Let me school you. seen too many homies locked up cause they moved sloppy. Too many casualties cause they was trying to copy what they seen in movies, what they heard in rap songs. Thinking hustling is glamorous, but them streets is Vietnam. For young black kids who ain't got no other options, or think they don't, they rather risk it all than work at corporate America for minimum wage and disrespect. So they hit the block, moving work, trying to collect enough to feed their family, enough to pay the rent, enough to feel like men in the world that's hell-bent on emasculating us, on keeping us dependent on illegal income sources, making us defendants in a system that's designed to incarcerate us while profiting off our labor, using us to satiate the appetite for prison labor. Modern slavery disguised as criminal justice, but the criminal is them. I'm wise enough to see the game, but still got to play it. Corner store survival, that's the mathematics. Street economics, gotta stay strategic. They want us dead or in jail, that's the statistic. Corner store survival, gotta be realistic. Move smart, not hard, calculate the risk. Corner store survival, this is how we exist in a system designed for us to fail. Rule number 3, never trust nobody completely. Rule number 4, keep your business discreet. G, don't be bragging about your moves, don't be flashing what you earning. That attract attention from the jackers and from police concerning yourself with material possessions over safety. That's how you end up robbed or caught. That's crazy. To prioritize the image over actual security, over longevity, over maturity, required to survive long term in this game. Most don't make it past 5 years, it's a shame. How many young brothers lost to violence or the bids, locked up for decades, missing watching their kids grow up, graduate, have kids of their own, all because they move reckless, all because they were shown the wrong example by media, by rap songs, by culture that glorifies the street life but don't show you the sculpture of broken families and mothers crying at funerals. Corner store survival, that's the mathematics. Street economics, gotta stay strategic. They want us dead or in jail, that's the statistic. Corner store survival, gotta be realistic. Move smart, not hard, calculate the risk. Corner store survival, this is how we exist in a system designed for us to fail. Rule number 5, always have an exit strategy. Don't plan to do this forever, that's mental tragedy. This is temporary, means to an end, not the end itself. The goal is generational wealth, not personal wealth that dies with you. The goal is to build something that your kids can inherit. That's the real hustling, investing in legitimate business, buying property, creating opportunities. That's how we stop the poverty cycle from continuing, from repeating generation after generation. We need financial education that they don't teach in schools, that we gotta learn from streets, from OGs who survive, who can teach with the streets. Teach you if you pay attention, if you humble enough to learn from others' mistakes, if you tough enough to admit you don't know everything, to seek wisdom from those who came before, who built the system within the system that allows us to survive and maybe thrive. I'm hustling towards freedom, not just toward money, toward independence, toward options, toward something sunny on the horizon, toward a future for my seed, where they don't have to make the choices, poverty decree that I had to make, where they can choose their path without desperation, without doing the math for risk versus reward versus chance of getting caught. I'm hustling so they don't have to, that's the thought that motivates me daily, that keeps me disciplined, keeps me from making stupid moves, from getting killed in these streets that claim so many, that devour the reckless. I'm moving with intention, moving with a checklist of goals to accomplish before I can retire from this game, from this life, from this fire that burns constant, threatening to consume me if I'm not careful, if I'm not moving prudently. Corner store survival ain't about surviving day to day, it's about surviving long enough to build another way out, another path forward, another option available. Corner store survival, staying unavailable to premature death, to incarceration's reach. Corner store survival, that's what I teach to younger cats coming up, making same mistakes. Corner store survival, whatever it takes to make it to tomorrow, to make it to next week, to make it to freedom. That's the peace I seek. Most don't make it, I'm trying to be the exception.
Corner store survival,
strategic, calculated,
corner store survival,
exit plan ready.
corner store survival,
One day soon,
corner store survival.
one day soon.
10,000 in my hand, 25 to life hanging over my head. Do the math. Yeah. They say money talks, but blood money screams. In the middle of the night when you having fever dreams about the choices that you made, about the lines you crossed, about the people that you hurt, about the innocence you lost. Chasing paper in the streets, chasing something that'll never fill the void inside your soul. Chasing cheddar, whether legal or illegal, moral or immoral, right or wrong. Just trying to survive, but the game don't last long. For most who play it, statistics don't lie. Most stand up either dead or in a cell before they 25, fed up with the life but trapped inside the cycle they created, depending on the income even though they know it's faded. To end badly, to end violently, to end with loss of freedom or a life, but still they pay the cost. Cause what's the alternative? Minimum wage employment, working 40 hours weekly just to barely make rent. Unemployment ain't an option when you got dependents looking at you. Blood money arithmetic, counting dirty bills, calculating consequences, calculating kills that this money might have caused, might have paid for. Blood money arithmetic, what you saving for? Can't spend it if you dead, can't enjoy it locked away. Blood money arithmetic, gotta pay someday. Everything costs something, nothing's ever free. Everything costs something, nothing's ever free. I know a cat who made 100,000 in 6 months, moving weight, living great, stunting heavy, getting blunts, rolled in his presence by women who ain't won him before. When he was broke, now he's woke to how money opened doors, to experiences, to exits, to everything he dreamed about. When he was struggling, when he was juggling schemes about getting rich quick, getting his fix of material satisfaction. But money brought different problems, brought him wanted interaction with envious individuals, with stick-up kids, with police who watching them now cause his spending increased dramatically, statistically, financially, impossible for someone with his background. Now he spotted, observable target on his back that he don't even recognize. Too blinded by the shine, by the lies. He tell himself that he's untouchable, unstoppable, smarter than the rest. Who got caught, who got shot, but he fell in the test of humility, of reality, of mathematical probability. Blood money arithmetic, counting dirty bills, calculating consequences, calculating kills that this money might have caused, might have paid for. Blood money arithmetic, what you saving for? Can't spend it if you dead, can't enjoy it locked away. Blood money arithmetic, gotta pay someday. Everything costs something, nothing's ever free. Everything costs something, nothing's ever free. 6 months later, homie caught a case, caught a bid, 20 years federal. Everything he did to get that money wasn't worth it in retrospect. But hindsight always 20/20. Now he's gotta accept the consequences of his actions, of his decisions made in moments of desperation, moments when he prayed for opportunity, for come up, for escape from poverty. But the opportunity found was laced with irony, a freedom lost in pursuit of financial freedom gained temporarily. Now he's permanently detained in a cell, in the box, in the cage for 2 decades. His youth, his prime years, his life basically erased from existence, from society, from his family's daily lives. His kids growing up without him, his girl finds other guys to fill the void he left. His money's gone, spent on lawyers, on appeals that went nowhere, on destroyers of hope disguised as legal representation promising. I ain't judging, I ain't preaching, I'm just doing the equation of risk versus reward, of immediate gratification versus long-term consequences of the price we pay for blood money to discern the illegal way. Is it worth it? That's the question everybody gotta answer for themselves. But remember that this life's a cancer that spreads and kills everything it touches. Eventually nothing good comes from bad seeds. That's the penalty of karma, of cause and effect, of universal laws that govern everyday things despite our human flaws in logic and reasoning, and justifying wrong as right because we need to eat, because we need to belong to something, to succeed at something, to prove something to somebody. But at what cost? We're losing something more valuable than money, more precious than material. We're losing time, losing life, losing ethereal connections to our higher selves, to our potential greatness, trading it for temporary wealth and all its fakeness. Blood money arithmetic don't add up in the end. The costs outweigh the benefits. Around the bend, the waits either death or prison for the majority who chooses path. That's not a theory, that's reality speaking. That's statistics teaching lessons that most ignore until they live in them, until they keep in score of years lost, of opportunities missed, of life wasted. Blood money arithmetic, the truth is cold and naked. He's sitting in that cell now, doing that math finally. 10,000 gain, 25 years lost. Yeah, yeah. Blood money arithmetic, the numbers never lie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Blood money arithmetic.
Mama gave me a Bible, streets gave me a vest, trying to protect my soul and my chest. At the same time, Yeah.
I read Psalms in the morning, then I load my weapon. Contradictory existence, but a street life lesson that you gotta be prepared for both spiritual and physical. Warfare daily, it's habitual, it's typical for young black men navigating hostile environments where death is commonplace. Violence is the requirement for survival, for respect, for existing in spaces that ain't designed for us to thrive in. Just placing bodies in graves or in cages. Either way, we casualties of water, we ain't start, we just play. The hand we dealt, the cards we got, the life we born into. Trying to make it out alive or staying true to both the teachings of the church and teachings of the street. Both contradictory but both necessary, both compete for my allegiance, for my faith, for my devotion. I'm caught between salvation and survival's ocean. That's my daily armor. One protects my body, one protects my karma. In the streets where death is lurking, where the devil's working. Bulletproof vests and Bibles. That's for certain. I believe in God, but I ain't stupid, I stay ready. All the bulletproof vests and Bibles. Keep me steady between righteousness and realness, between faith and faith. Bulletproof vests and Bibles. Yeah. Preacher man told me turn the other cheek when struck. Streets told me if you do that, you'll get stuck again and again until you're bleeding out, deceased. Religion says have faith. Streets say stay with that peace on your waist, just in case someone tests your resolve. Both philosophies got merit, both help me solve different problems that I'm facing in my complicated life, where I'm trying to be righteous but I'm holding that knife behind my back just in case peace don't prevail. Where I'm praying for my enemies but packing where I fail every time I leave my house. Cause I know that prayer ain't bulletproof, ain't stopping, hotly tearing through the air. Toward my chest, toward my head, toward my future. I believe in divine protection, but I'm not a loser or a fool who thinks that faith alone is sufficient in a world where violence is constant and persistent. That's my daily armor. One protects my body, one protects my karma. In the streets where death is lurking, where the devil's working. Bulletproof vests and Bibles. That's for certain. I believe in God, but I ain't stupid, I stay ready. I'm a bulletproof vest and Bibles. Keep me steady between righteousness and realness, between faith and fact. Bulletproof vests and Bibles.
Sunday morning I'm in church, Sunday night I'm on the block. Monday through Saturday I'm trying not to get shot or locked up. I'm trying to reconcile these two realities, these dual identities, these split personalities that exist within me, within most of us who grew up in the hood where church and street life both showed up in equal measure, in equal importance and equal necessity for survival, for sanity, for any type of legacy beyond the grave, beyond the hood, beyond the cycle of violence and poverty. I'm reading from the Bible while I'm watching my surroundings, while I'm staying vigilant, while I'm praying for protection. I'm inherently militant in my approach to staying alive and making it home to my family every night. I can't do that alone with just faith or just force. I need both combined. Bulletproof vests and Bibles protecting body and mind. Grandmother don't understand why I can't just have faith, why I feel the need to carry weapons to stay safe through physical means. When God is my protector, I tell her, Grandma, I believe, but I'm also a reflector of the reality I live in, of the danger that's real. Other bodies dropping daily, other families that feel the pain of losing loved ones who had faith too. But faith don't stop bullets, Grandma, that's true. She looks at me with sadness, with disappointment, with fear, not for my body, but my soul. She sheds tears for the spiritual warfare I'm losing, for the darkness that's creeping in my heart, that's making me hardness against compassion, against mercy, against forgiveness. She prays for me daily, prays that I witness a different reality, a different possibility, a different way of living with more tranquility than what I'm experiencing. But until that day comes, until the streets are safe, until the violence done, I'm wearing bulletproof vests and carrying my Bible close. Both protection methods, neither one I need the most, but together they might keep me alive and sane in this concrete jungle where only the strong remain. Bulletproof vests and Bibles, my dual armor system. One protects from enemies, one protects from victim mentality, from losing faith, from losing hope. Bulletproof vests and Bibles helping me cope with the contradiction, with the conflict, with the confusion of trying to be holy in unholy conditions. The conclusion I've come to is that God understands my situation, understands my need for both spiritual and physical salvation.
Every morning, same routine. Read a chapter, load the clip, say a prayer, strap the vest. Bulletproof vests and Bibles, keeping me alive, body and soul, in these streets that want both. Yeah. 23 floors up. View of the city from the bottom. This is what the projects teach you. If you pay attention. Growing up in public housing taught me economics. Before any classroom did, taught me that chronic poverty creates conditions where normal don't exist, where survival takes priority over everything. Resist the urge to judge us by suburban standards. We adapted to environments you couldn't survive in. We're mapping different paths to success, different definitions of winning. We ain't starting at the same starting line. We're beginning miles behind, but expected to compete equally. That's the lie they tell, but reality is we fighting uphill battles every day just to maintain what others take for granted, just to sustain basic dignity, basic safety, basic access to opportunities that ain't designed for an address. Zip code determining destiny more than any test score. Projects taught me that the deck is stacked. That's what's left for us to navigate, to overcome, to rise above. Rise above, rise above, rise above. Project philosophy, lessons from the bottom, wisdom in the struggle. Every flow I got 'em. 23 stories of survival and pain. Project philosophy. This is what I gained from growing up in concrete, from growing up poor. Project philosophy, opening doors to understanding that the privileged never see, never see, never see, never see, never see. Projects taught me about community in ways that suburbs can't. When your neighbor's struggling, you help them even though you can't really afford to, but you do it anyway, cause that's the code, that's the culture, that's the unspoken way we hold each other up when systems trying to tear us down. Projects taught me that community's a verb of noun, an action in a place, something you create through daily interaction, through support and through showing up, not barely, but fully for your people, for your floor, for your building, for your block. That's the ethic, that's the willing, that's the willing. Sacrifice yourself for collective good, that's rich. People never learn cause they ain't never been in situations pitch black with no way out except together, except united. Projects taught me coalition build before I ever cited any political theory. Before I read any book, I learned mutual aid by watching how my mama took care of Miss Johnson's kids when Miss Johnson working late. Project philosophy, lessons from the bottom, wisdom in the struggle. Every flow I got 'em. 23 stories of survival and pain. Project philosophy, from growing up poor. Project philosophy, opening doors to understanding that the privileged never see, never see, never see, never see, never see, never see. Projects taught me resilience, taught me how to bounce back from setbacks that will break people who ain't used to lack of resources, of options, of safety nets to catch them. When they fall, we used to fall and used to having to snatch them. Selves up by bootstraps that we ain't even got. Make something out of nothing, that's the only plot. We know the only story we've been told is possible for us to write, so we fight despite impossible odds stacked against us, despite the statistics saying we ain't supposed to make it, we ain't supposed to be staying out of prison, out of graves, out of poverty. But here I am still standing, living property, a proof that circumstances don't define destiny, that where you from don't determine where you'll be eventually. If you're willing to work harder than you ever thought you could. Projects taught me that struggle can produce good if you let it shape you without breaking you complete, you complete, you complete. Yeah. Looking back now from a distance, from a different position, financially and geographically, I'm on a mission to never forget where I came from, what the projects taught me about survival, about struggle, about what bought me this perspective that money can't buy, that degrees can't teach, that only lived experience can reach into your soul, and each day remind you that you represent more than yourself. You represent every kid still living in that hell you escaped from. You carrying their dreams on your back, you showing them it's possible. You laying down a track for them to follow if they choose to, if they willing. The sacrifice to work to keep building despite the killing. In fields of projects trying to claim them, trying to trap them. In cycles of poverty and violence, trying to slap them down every time they try to rise. But you're the example that rising is possible. Your life is the sample. They can study, they can follow, they can use as blueprint for their own escape, for their own footprint. On a path towards something better, something different. Projects taught me that my life ain't just my own, it's significant to the community I came from, to the people still there. Project philosophy, success requires you to care about more than just yourself, about more than you'll come up, about lifting while you climb, about making sure some love gets spread around to those who helped you on your way. Project philosophy, that's what I rep every day.
23 floors down, same view, different eyes. Project philosophy.
Never forget where you from,
Never forget who you are.
never forget what you learned.
In the struggle from the bottom.
23 floors down. Same view, different eyes. Project Philosophy.
Never forget where you from. Never forget who you are. Never forget what you learned in the struggle. From the bottom. From the bottom. 5 a.m. every morning. Same routine. Same robbery. They stealing my time. They stealing my life.
Alarm clock screaming at me like I'm late for my execution, which I am, cause this 9 to 5 is slow electrocution of my spirit, of my dreams, of my potential greatness. Trading hours of my life for checks that can't even make rent, let alone provide the lifestyle that they promise in commercials, that they dangle like a carrot while I'm running in circles on this hamster wheel they call career advancement. The scam meant to keep me grinding till I'm buried in the dirt, spent every ounce of energy enriching someone else, while I'm struggling to maintain my mental health. My wealth of time is being stolen legally, systematically. They call it employment, I call it robbery. Dramatically disguised as opportunity, is honest living as the way things supposed to be, but I ain't supposed to waste away my youth, my prime years, my irreplaceable time, making millionaires richer while I'm barely getting by. Crime ain't just in the streets, it's in the offices, the boardrooms.
Rush hour robbery, they stealing my time. 40 hours weekly, that's a 40-year crime against my life, against my dreams, against my soul. Rush hour robbery, taking its toll on my mental health, my physical health, my everything. Rush hour robbery,
What freedom brings, none, just disguised slavery with benefits. Boss man talking about what family here, that's manipulation, using emotional language to justify the exploitation of labor, of loyalty, of dedication to a company that replace you in a heartbeat, that'll dump your body in the unemployment line soon as profits dip a quarter. They don't care about your family, about your son or daughter who depending on this income, on this family they created through rhetoric, through pizza parties, through the overrated culture they pretend it makes up for the lack of wages, for the lack of respect, for the lack of pages in the book of benefits they promise but never deliver on. The rush hour robbery been happening since you've been born into the system that convince your parents that it's normal to trade majority of waking hours for informal slavery with dental, with vacation days ration like we should be grateful for the time that ain't our time. They're granting back to us like it's a gift, like time ain't ours to begin with.
rush hour robbery, they stealing my time. 40 hours weekly, that's a 40-year crime against my life, against my dreams, against my soul. Rush hour robbery, taking its toll on my mental health, my physical health, my everything. Rush hour robbery, what freedom brings, none, just disguised slavery with benefits.
Calculate the hours spent commuting to and from work, add the hours actually working, add the mental work that continues after clocking out. Cause you thinking about what you gotta do tomorrow, what you stress about from today's problems that ain't yours but you responsible for solving, cause that's job description. It's impossible to separate yourself from labor when your labor is your life, when your life is labor, when the only respite from the grind is sleep, which you ain't getting enough of cause you're anxious about tomorrow, about money, about the tough love the world is giving you in form of bills and obligations that require you to keep participating in this plantation system that evolved from chattel slavery to wage slavery, to keep us trapped, to keep us broke, to keep us raggedy, mentally and physically, spiritually depleted. Rush hour robbery got us all defeated, but repeat it daily like we got no choice, like there's no alternative.
But there's always choice even when it don't seem like it. There's resistance, there's rebellion, there's refusing to strike the clock one more time, to participate one more day in the systematic robbery of your life. There's a way out, it ain't easy, but it's possible, it's necessary for sanity, for dignity, for revolutionary acts of self-preservation, of time reclamation, of life lived on your terms, not on corporations' terms, not on society's timeline. To work, retire, die without ever really living, without ever asking why. We accept this as normal, as inevitable, as just the way things are. But things are only this way cause we trust the people robbing us to tell us what's possible, what's practical, what's reasonable, but it's topical. The solutions they provide cause they benefit from our labor, from our time, from our life. They ain't doing us no favor by employing us, we're doing them favors every day, by showing up, by producing, by accepting the pay that's less than we worth, less than we deserve, less than we need. Rush hour robbery, but I'm planning my jailbreak, planting seeds of entrepreneurship, of ownership, of controlling my time, my labor, my destiny, of committing the crime, of freedom, of liberation from the rush hour grind. Rush hour robbery ending, I'm taking back what's mine.
Last day. Last punch. Last time they robbed me. Of my time. Of my life. I'm out.
Rush hour robbery. Consider this my resignation from participating in my own oppression.
Young blood.
Let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something.
I've been where you're going, and I see where it ends.
And I seen where it ends.
Listen.
Listen. OG posted on the corner, 50-something years old. 20 of them been locked up, but his story's worth more than gold. To young cats who would listen, who humble enough to learn from mistakes he made when he was young. And it's his turn to pass the wisdom down, to break the cycle if he can, by teaching us the game beyond the surface, helping us understand that everything that glitters ain't profits. Everything that's sold ain't worth buying. Everything you told ain't truth. Behold, the concrete prophet speaking mathematics of the street, not glamorizing, not encouraging, just keeping it complete. The picture of what happens when you choose this life he lived. He ain't preaching from a pulpit, he's teaching what the streets give and what they take away. He's a living testimony of consequences, of cause and effect, of how phony the images that rap songs sell, that movies portray. He's the reality check, the truth they don't display in videos and lyrics in the culture's current form.
Concrete prophets
On every corner speaking truth,
warning the youth about the game, about the proof.
that this life ain't what it seems, ain't what they rap about.
Concrete prophets.
They mapping out the route. He either freedom or destruction, showing both paths clear.
Concrete prophets.
If you got the ears to hear,
Concrete
the wisdom and the warnings, the lessons and the pain. Yeah. He breaks down the economics of the dope game, how the math never works in favor of the street soldier, how the path to riches through illegal means is narrower than needles, how for everyone who makes 1,000 more street feebles, casualty statistics, bodies, numbers in the system. He's explaining how it's designed to trap us, how we've been victim to propaganda that convinces us we're entrepreneurs, when really we just pawns of someone else's game. The cure for poverty ain't dealing, it's legitimate business building. Yeah. But they don't teach us that in school, so we stay willing. Yeah. To risk our freedom, risk our lives for temporary paper. That don't last, that don't build wealth. He's trying to make the younger generation to stand before they make the same mistakes he made, before they lose decades to the game. It can't be won by players, only by those who own the board. Yeah. He's dropping jewels, but most young cats can't afford to humble themselves in that for list. Yeah, so we speak the wisdom.
Warning the youth about the game, about the proof.
That this life ain't what it seems, ain't what they rap about.
Concrete prophets.
They mapping out the route to either freedom or destruction, showing both paths clear.
Concrete prophets.
If you got the ears to hear, the
Concrete
wisdom
prophets.
and the warnings, the lessons in the pain. Young cat steps up, challenging the OG's perspective, says times changed. Old man, your experience ain't effective. In this new era, we moving different, we smarter. OG smiles sadly, says that's what I told the martyr who tried to school me when I was your age. Thought I knew better, thought I was different, thought I'd be the one to get the cheddar and get out clean, but that's delusion, that's the trap talking. Through your mouth, that's your ego, that's you sleepwalking into the same nightmare I woke up from after 20 years of concrete and steel, of violence and fear, of tears from my mama visiting through glass, and missing my kids grow. You think you different, but the game don't change. The tempo might speed up, but the outcome stays the same for most. Either dead or locked up, that ain't me trying to boast about my knowledge, that's me trying to save you from yourself, from the same mistakes, from losing your life, your freedom, your health. Young cat walks away convinced he's the exception to the rule. OG watches him go, shakes his head, knows he tried to plant seeds that might not grow for years, might not provide fruit until the young cats lived enough to understand that wisdom come from failure, from surviving what you plan to conquer, but instead conquered you. From seeing clear after years of being blind, from feeling fear for the first time after years of false bravado fades, when reality and consequence pervades your consciousness. He knows that some lessons can't be taught, must be learned through experience, through pain, through bridges burned. But still he tries, still he shows up every day to be the prophet on the corner to display his scars, his wounds, his truth, his testimony to whoever will listen and interrupt the ceremony. Young cats sacrificing themselves on altar of the streets. He's the interruption, the disruption, the truth that competes with the lies that mainstream sells them through music and movies. He's the counter narrative, the reality, the grooves he speaking over. He's the baseline under flashy
melodies. The concrete prophet speaking remedies, the street felonies before they happen. If they'll listen, if they're wise enough to learn from his experience, to realize the stuff they chasing ain't worth chasing, that the life ain't worth living, that freedom's more valuable than anything they giving up to chase this fantasy of street riches and fame. Yeah.
Concrete prophets, warning the youth about the game, about the proof. Concrete prophets, concrete prophets, concrete prophets, concrete prophets.
Clock out at 5. Clock in at 6. Different job, different name. Same survival.
Daytime, I'm a warehouse worker, loading trucks and moving freight. Benefits and 401k, everything legitimate and straight. Boss thinks I'm dedicated, always tired but never late. Don't know that I'm exhausted from the work I do past 8 p.m. when the sun goes down and my alter ego wakes. Different phone, different name, different kind of stakes. Different kind of product, moving different kind of risk. Different kind of mathematics, different kind of business. Transactions in the dark in the parking lots and alleys, while my coworkers home sleeping, watching TV with their families. I'm out here in the shadows, supplementing legal income that ain't enough to live on, barely enough to come up with rent and bills and basic necessities of life. So I'm hustling after hours, living double life, compartmentalizing, separating, never let them intersect. My day job and my night moves, gotta protect both from contamination, from discovery, from exposure. Partner at my day job asking why I look so tired, why I'm always yawning, why I seem so uninspired by the company's new initiatives, new policies, new goals. I'm just trying not to fall asleep, my body taking tolls from running on 4 hours sleep for months straight now. From anxiety, you're juggling two realities somehow, keeping them separate, keeping both afloat, maintaining both personas without either one complaining about the other, without either one demanding more attention, more energy, more understanding than I can give or split between them both. I'm drowning in the double life, I'm choking on the oath I made of myself to keep them separate, to never mix business and pleasure, legal and illegal, to never fix one problem using resources from the other side. But lately it's been harder, lately I've been tired of the ride on this tightrope between two worlds that both require. Close call last week, ran into my supervisor at the gas station at 2 a.m. Had to disguise a transaction I was making, had to play it cool. Had to think quick, had to not act like a fool. Caught off guard, had to explain why I'm out this late. Made up story about insomnia, about my mental state, requiring late night drives to clear my head, to think he bought it, moved along, but my heart started to sink with realization that I'm playing dangerous game, that eventually the two worlds will collide, that shame will follow discovery, that arrest will follow exposure, that I'm building house of cards, that soon it's over. This double life I'm living, this exhausting existence, this constant vigilance, this persistent resistance to choosing one or other, to commit it fully to either legal poverty or illegal money seduction. I'm stuck between them, paralyzed by fear of consequence from either choice, so I stay here in this purgatory, in this limbo state between. Yeah. Night shift assassins, we everywhere you look. We your co-workers, your neighbors. We by the book during daylight, but we outlaws when the moon comes out. We living proof that legal wages ain't enough, without a doubt. We testimony to failure of the system to provide living wages, to the wisdom of the streets that teach us supplementation, teaches diversification of income streams, teaches financial liberation through any means necessary, through whatever works, through legal and legal, through corporate and street, through perks and penalties of both, through navigating gray areas between right and wrong, through carrying these various identities, these masks we wear, these roles we play, to survive, to provide and make it through another day, another week, another month, another year. This double life, this double shift, this double consciousness that do I wrote about, but in financial terms instead of racial, looking at two worlds through one head, trying to reconcile them, trying to make sense of why legal work don't pay enough, why illegal above board work in terms of compensation, why the math never works out legal, why we forced to take the path of most resistance and most risk and most danger. To achieve what should be basic, to not be stranger, the financial stability, the comfort, the security that legal work should provide, but don't the purity of legal income ain't enough to live on anymore. Night shift assassins, we out here keep a score of hours work versus dollars earned, a risk versus reward, of freedom versus stability, of living by the sword or dying by it. Eventually one catches up with you, either the cops or exhaustion, either avenue leads to collapse, to revelation, to the end of double life. Hey, to choosing one or other, putting down the night. You've been juggling with the day job, eventually drop. Night shift assassins. We waiting for the clock to stop. Another day, another shift. Another day, another shift.
Loyalty ain't just a word, it's a contract written in blood. Signed when you enter this life, when you claim the hood is yours, when you swear allegiance to the code that governs how we move, how we carry the load of secrets, of activities, of information that could incriminate us all if it reached the wrong ears understood. That's why snitching is the ultimate betrayal, the worst sin you can commit, worse than murder, worse than first degree everything, worse than stealing, worse than lying about anything except cooperation, testifying against your own. That's unforgivable, that's irrevocable, that's cement shoes, baptism, that's topical discussion in every cipher, every corner, every crew about who's solid, who's suspect, who's true blue, and who's wearing the wire, who's talking to the feds, who's trying to save themselves by putting prices on our heads in the form of testimony, in the form of statements given. Cement shoes, baptism, that's the street religion. For those who break the code, who make the decision to cooperate, to testify, to save themselves. Cement shoes, baptism, we protect ourselves from rats, from snitches, from those who tell. Cement shoes, baptism, street justice, street hell. For those who violate, for those who break the oath. Call a case facing time, prosecutor offering a deal. Testify against your co-defendants, tell us what's real about their operation, about their moves, their crimes. We'll reduce your sentence, you'll do minimal time. That's the offer, that's the temptation, that's the test of loyalty, of character, of whether you're blessed with integrity or cursed with cowardice, with self-preservation instincts that override concern for wealth, of community, of crew, or code that keeps us bound together against common enemy, that keeps us grounded in principles that transcend individual survival, that prioritize collective over personal revival, from legal troubles that demand sacrifice of self for greater good, for solidarity, for stealth operations to continue, for the code to stay intact, for trust to remain possible. That's the fact of street life, a criminal enterprise, or organized. Cement shoes, baptism, that's the street religion. For those who break the code, who make the decision to cooperate, to testify, to save themselves. Word travels fast when someone's cooperating with police, faster than wildfire, faster than disease, spreads through the streets, through the network, through the grapevine. Everyone's discussing, everyone's trying to assign blame, trying to figure out who's next on the list. Them names he's giving up, who's next to be dismissed. From freedom to custody, from streets to cells, because someone chose themselves over everyone else. That's when the meetings happen, when the votes are cast, when the sentence is decided, when the die's cast. For the snitch, for the rat, for the one who told. Street justice is swift, street justice is cold. As the water they'll be sleeping in is the cement that's hardening around their feet. As the intent behind the action taken, no malice, just business, just maintaining order, just showing witness to what happens when you violate the code we live by. I ain't advocating violence, I'm just documenting truth about how streets operate, about the brutal reality, a criminal world where trust is everything, where your word is your bond, where snitching is a thing that can't be tolerated, can't be forgiven, can't be overlooked or excused, where you can't expect to violate and survive the consequences. Where cement shoes, baptism is the recompense for betrayal, for cooperation, for self-preservation at expense of others. That's the streets legislation, enforced not by courts but by participants themselves, who understand that snitching threaten everyone's health, their freedom, their safety, their ability to operate, so they eliminate the threat. They retaliate against those who cooperate, who testify, who tell, and send them to the bottom of the river. That's the smell of fear that keeps most people from cooperating, even when facing decades, even when debating whether loyalty is worth the time they'll serve. But most choose silence, most have the nerve to stand up under pressure, to maintain the code, even when it cost them years, even when the load is heavy, it's crushing, it's seemingly unbearable. They choose loyalty over freedom that's comparable to religious devotion, to faith and principle
principles that govern street life, that make the criminals into community with rules, with structure, with order, maintained through enforcement, through some issues underwater. Baptism for those who violate, who break, who tell. That's the reality, that's the story I tell. Not to glorify, but to illuminate the truth about how streets operate, about the uncouth reality of justice outside legal systems reach. That's cement shoes, baptism, that's what streets teach about loyalty, about consequences, about price of betrayal, about rolling the dice with your life when you choose to cooperate with police. Cement shoes, baptism. May you rest in peace.
To cash my own paycheck that I earned, that I worked for. Welcome to being poor.
Standing in line at the check cashing spot, cause I can't get a bank account. I got bad credit for medical bills I couldn't pay, from emergencies that happen. That's the way life works when you're poor, one crisis away from financial ruin, from deeper debt, from the fray. A predatory service is designed to extract maximum profit from those who lack access to traditional banking, to credit, to loans that don't charge interest rates that break your bones financially, that don't trap you in cycles of debt that's impossible to escape from. And yet we keep coming back, cause we got no choice. We don't have the privilege of using our voice to demand better. We just take what's available, even when it's exploitation, even when it's terrible. Mathematically, we paying premium to be poor. Bank told me I need 500 minimum balance to open account, but I can't afford the challenge of keeping 500 sitting while I'm struggling to pay rent, to buy food, to keep from crumbling under pressure of bills, of obligations and needs that 500 could address. So I proceed to check cash and spot where I pay the fee to access my money immediately without the penalty of overdraft charges or monthly maintenance fees that banks charge poor people that increase with ease. The cost of being broke, making it more expensive to be poor than rich. That's a comprehensive system designed to keep us poor, to extract wealth from those who have least. That's the fact of American capitalism, a financial exclusion of poor people from services. That's the conclusion I've reached after years of paying to be paid. Payday loans next door, 20% interest weekly. For a $100 loan, that's completely legal robbery, that's usury, that's predatory. Lending designed to trap people in mandatory cycle of borrowing to pay back previous loan, plus interest that grows like cancer, exponentially grown until you're paying hundreds for loan $100. That's the business model, that's what follows. When you're desperate, when you need money for emergency, when your car breaks down, when you can't pay the surgery bill, when you're choosing between electricity and food, that's when predatory lenders know they got you. They understood that desperation makes people accept terrible terms, that poverty makes people vulnerable, that affirms the business model based on exploitation of need, of poor people with nowhere else to go, guaranteed customers because the traditional banks won't serve them. 3% here, 20% there, overdraft fees when you miscalculate by $1 late fees for payments that a day late, penalties for being poor stack up to constitute the realities of poverty trap, a systematic extraction of wealth from poor to rich, a transaction costs that are designed to keep us perpetually broke, to keep us struggling, to keep us under the yoke of financial stress, of money, anxiety, of fear that next emergency will be the one that makes us disappear into homelessness, into desperation, in the worst. Check cashing philosophy, a symptom of the curse of poverty in America, of financial exclusion, of deliberate design to prevent our intrusion in the wealth building, in the savings, in the stability that would threaten system that depends on our inability to accumulate, to invest, to break free from cycle. Check cashing philosophy is just one cycle, logical assault in the war on poor people, waged by those who profit from our struggle. From the steeple of their wealth, they look down on us with contempt, while charging us premium for being kept out of traditional banking system, out of access to services that rich take for granted, that bless them with convenience while we pay for inconvenience of being poor. Check cashing philosophy is grievance against system that penalizes poverty with fees that make it harder to escape, that sees every spare dollar through predatory services that make us complicit in our own servitude, nervous about next time we need to cash a check, next time we need quick loan, next time desperation supersedes our better judgment, our awareness that we're being exploited. But what choice we got? We're
fleeing from one predatory service to another, trying to survive an economy designed for our dying. Slow death, 1,000 cuts, 1,000 fees. Check cashing philosophy. We begging on our knees for access to our own money, paying tax to be poor. Check cashing philosophy. 3% at the door. Next Friday, same line, same robbery, same 3%, same poverty tax. Check cashing philosophy. The price of being broke in America.
They killed my brother last week. Gun in my hand, revenge in my heart, but something making me pause. Sitting in my car outside the spot where they be at, loaded gun on my lap, ski mask all black, everything ready to execute the retaliation. That street code demands that my reputation requires that my pain is screaming for. But something in my spirit asking, what's this for? What does killing them bring back? What does murder solve? Besides creating more pain, more families to involve in this cycle of violence, in this endless loop of revenge, breeding revenge of another group of brothers mourning loss, plotting retaliation against me, against mine, perpetuating situation that's been going on for decades, generations, even same blocks beefing over shit that happened when we breathed our first breaths. Inherited wars we didn't start, but expected to continue, expected to play our part in maintaining conflicts that benefit nobody. Retaliation, meditation, war inside my mind between revenge and reason, between the blind, rage and the wisdom, asking what comes next. Retaliation, meditation, I'm perplexed by the cycle, by the code, by the expectations. Retaliation, meditation, contemplation of breaking the pattern, of choosing different paths. My brother wasn't innocent. He was in the streets, he knew the risks. He understood that beef leads to bodies, to funerals, to retaliation endless. He lived by that code, died by it, defenseless against the bullets that found him on that corner. Now I'm expected to become the mourner, turn murderer to carry on the legacy of violence, to ensure the tragedy continues, multiplies, spreads like disease through the community, bringing more mothers to their knees in front of caskets, holding sons who died too young, over nothing, over disrespect, over who among us is the realest, the hardest, the most feared. That's the metric we use. That's what's revered in street culture that glorifies death dealing, while simultaneously revealing the emptiness, the feeling of hollowness that comes with bodies on your conscience. Retaliation, meditation, war inside my mind between revenge and reason, between the blind, rage and the wisdom, asking what comes next. Retaliation, meditation, I'm perplexed by the cycle, by the code, by the expectations. Retaliation, meditation, contemplations of breaking the pattern, of choosing different paths. What if I don't do it? What if I just let it go? What would happen to my reputation? Would they know me as a coward, as weak as someone who can't handle their business? Would I be able to hold a candle to my brother's memory if I don't avenge his death? These are the questions still in my breath as I sit here contemplating actions that will change my life forever, that will rearrange my entire existence, my future, my trajectory, from potentially free to definitely in prison, to debt myself within the year. That's the statistics, that's what's clear. When you enter into cycle of retaliation, you're entering a suicide mission, no hesitation. The game will claim you eventually, just matter of time. But that's the price of honor, right? That's the crime of not participating, choosing life over death. But what if honor is the trap? What if the code is designed to keep us killing each other? What if the road to real freedom is refusing to participate in our own genocide, in our own fate of mass incarceration in early graves? What if the realest thing I could do is resist the myth that retaliation makes me a man, that murder proves my love for my brother? What if I choose to live instead, to build instead, to create instead of destroy, to love instead of hate? They'll call me soft, they'll call me scared, they'll question my loyalty, my heart, my street discretion. But I'll be alive, I'll be free, I'll be able to break this cycle, to turn the table on expectations that have killed generations of young black men on a plantation of street violence that serves the same purpose as slavery did, keeping us worthless in society's eyes, keeping us criminal, keeping us dying young, keeping us minimal. Threats to power structure that benefits from our self-destruction, from our internal war. I'm putting down this gun, I'm breaking this cycle, I'm honoring honoring my brother by survival, by the rifle of choosing life, by building something that lasts beyond this moment, beyond the past. That's haunting me, the man in blood for blood. I'm choosing to be free, to rise above the mud of street politics, the codes that only led to graveyards and prisons. I'm planting different seed for future generations, showing them this choice beyond retaliation, giving them a voice that says it's okay to walk away, to live, to forgive, not for them, but for the gift of freedom it provides to you, to your family, to your future. Retaliation, meditation, finally leads me to the conclusion that the strongest thing is breaking cycles, not continuing them, letting go and bringing peace instead of pieces, and more bodies to the count. That's already too high. It's the amount of courage it takes to choose differently, to honor the dead through living different.
Respect is the currency that can't be stolen, only earned or given. Let me break it down.
Yeah. They say respect is everything in the streets, but what's respect? Is it fear disguised as honor? Is it the effect of violence threatened or enacted? Is it authentic or performative? Is it genuine or synthetic? Most confuse respect with fear, that's the scrimmage. Playing out daily on corners where people demanding recognition through actions that inspire terror, not admiration. Through aggression, not integrity. That's not respect, that's animal dominance. That's basic instinct, not elevate consciousness. That's twisted interpretation that reduce respect to power dynamics instead of mutual recognition. That's toxic masculinity. Currency of respect. What's the exchange rate?
What you willing to pay?
What's at stake? Is it fear or honor? Is it real or fake? Currency of respect, for goodness sake. Stop confusing violence with respect, terror with honor.
Currency of respect.
Ponder what it really means, what it really costs.
Let me really go.
Yeah. Real respect is earned through consistency, through integrity, through how you treat people when you don't need anything, through keeping your word, through being genuine and true, through admitting when you're wrong, through apologizing, through staying strong in principles even when it costs you, through choosing what's right over what's easy, through treating everyone with dignity regardless of wealth or status, through recognizing humanity in everyone. That's the true currency of respect that can't be counterfeited, can't be stolen, can't be bought, only credited to your account through deposits of character over time. I used to think respect meant people feared me, meant my reputation preceded me as someone dangerous, through violence, through retaliation. That was toxic. Street culture that confuses power with respect, that mistakes dominance for honor. That's incorrect. Foundation for community, for relationships sustainable, for growth, for evolution, for transcendence of survival mode, for dependence on each other through genuine care, not through fear, through authentic connection, not intimidation.
What you done.
Yeah. Currency of respect appreciates over time when it's real, depreciates rapidly when it's based on fear. Street respect lasts only as long as people fear you. Real respect outlasts your physical presence, your ability to threaten. Your capacity for violence was a lesson in sustainability and legacy building based on mutual aid, not mutual fear. On foundations laid with integrity, not intimidation, with character, not caricature of what toughness is. Portrayed in media that glorifies violence as path to respect. Street codes demand violence as proof of loyalty, of realness, of being bulletproof against emotions, against vulnerability, against truth that we're human, who need more than ruthless displays to survive. Currency of respect based on fear serves nobody, makes us soldiers in wars we didn't start, rolling toward destruction, toward graves, toward prisons. Currency of respect and slaves when misunderstood, when reduced to dominance, quagger of violence as proof, should be tied to what we birth into the world through actions, through impact, through care for community. That's where respect, not fear mongering, built on bodies and destruction. That's false currency with no lasting value. Yeah. Real respect will outlast your time on earth, will echo through community, making it clear you live with honor, with integrity, with love, not fear. That's currency from above that matters, that sustains, that builds legacies future generations inherit. Let's redirect respect's meaning toward building communities of care where we afford each other dignity, recognition, genuine honor. That's currency worth investing in, worth accumulating through decades of integrity, through steady flow of actions matching words of character displayed consistently. That's how real respect is paid. Real, recognize real, not through fear, through honor, through integrity, through time.
Currency of respect, the only kind worth having, the only kind that lasts, yeah.
Currency of respect. The only kind worth having. The only kind that lasts.
They call it trap for a reason. It's designed to trap you. Let me break down the business model. Street MBA. Yo.
Supply chain start overseas, kilos manufactured cheap, transported through networks deep, through routes they keep secret, through mules and boats and planes and trucks, through border crossings where corrupted customs don't give fucks about laws they're paid to enforce, about consequences, about damage done to communities, about the fences they supposed to guard but don't. The kilo lands for maybe 2,000, passes through hands of distributors who step on it, cut it, stretch it from kilo to kilo and a half. They correct it with adulterants, with fillers, with substances that match the appearance and texture. Then they dispatch it down the chain to mid-level dealers who break it down further, step on it more, or make it into product that's maybe 30% pure if that. But sold as premium, sold as crack or powder or whatever form generates maximum profit. Mid-level dealer fronts product to street-level soldiers who standing on corners in all types of weather. Boulders on his shoulders, pressure mountain, police watching, clock ticking toward inevitable catching or killing, whichever comes first. But they out there, cause unemployment high. Cause they don't care about dying young, or they care, but they need money more than safety, more than freedom. They keeping score of daily profits, trying to work their way up from corner soldier to mid-level to sub. Clear status eventually, that's the dream, that's the carrot dangle, that's the scheme that keeps fresh bodies on corners willing to risk everything for slim chance of getting rich quick. But mathematics show most never advance beyond street level soldier status. Small chance of promotion in game designed to be flat pyramid. No. Break down the profit margins at each level. Street soldier might see 20% if he level-headed, smart, honest with his count, but most don't. Most get shorted by mid-level. Most won't speak up cause they need to work, need position. More than fair pay, that's the condition. A labor market flooded with desperate bodies, willing to work for less, willing to embody exploitation. If it means employment, means income, means eating today, means survival, that's outcome of economic desperation, of limited options, of education system failing to provide adoptions, a legitimate path to financial stability. So underground economy offers utility that legal economy don't, offers immediate cash for immediate work, offers immediate solution to poverty, even though long-term it perpetuates. Trap house economics is case study in capitalism, unregulated, unethical, but the mechanism is same as legal business. Maximize profits, minimize costs, exploit labor, stock it with it. Expendable workers who assume all risk, while those at top insulated disc. Encryption and distance and deniability protected. Real profiteers, really selected. Beneficiaries of this economy worth billions. That destroys communities, that kills millions. Through overdoses, through violence, through incarceration, through generational trauma, through stagnation of neighborhoods trapped in cycles perpetual. Of poverty and crime that's textual. Analysis of trap house economics reveals that it's designed to trap, that it conceals real power structure with street level players upon sacrifice, while real layers of profit go to those who never touch product, who legitimate their money through conduct of legal businesses, through real estate investment, through art collection, through divestment from street level operations soon as possible, while maintaining ownership, making it impossible to escape for those at bottom who most exposed to risk to violence, to being disposed of by a system that needs constant supply of fresh bodies willing to die or get locked up. That's why trap house economics is trap indeed, designed to perpetuate cycle to feed prison industrial complex, to maintain underclass that's criminalized, to sustain economic inequality through illegal means that benefit those at top, that redeems nobody at the bottom, despite the promises of wealth accumulation, despite the dominance of hustle narrative and hip-hop culture that glorifies trap house economics, the vulture capitalism of streets that preys on desperate, that offers false hope wrapped in temper conditions. Just work hard, just be smart, just move weight, and you'll get your start toward wealth, toward success, toward escape from poverty. But it's bait, it's the tape measure of your coffin or your cell. Trap house economics, welcome to hell of perpetual hustle leading nowhere but death. Prison, that's the truth. with every breath. I'm trying to explain a young cat seduced by the lifestyle, by the fruits produced temporarily before the system crushes you, before the trap house economics rushes you in the grave. In the grave.
Trial by jury of your peers. That's what they promise. But who are my peers? Not the 12 in that box.
Yeah. Sitting in this courtroom, looking at the jury. 12 white faces staring back with fury already written on their expressions before a trial starts, before evidence presented, before my lawyers articulate my defense, before witnesses testify to what occurred. They already decided based on what they heard about people like me from media, from stereotypes embedded in their consciousness since birth. That's dreaded feeling, knowing you already convicted in their minds, knowing that innocent until proven only applies to certain kinds of defendants, certain colors, certain classes, knowing that justice is supposed to be blind but passes right by people who look like me, who come from where I'm from, knowing that this jury of my peers ain't where I come from. They don't know my neighborhood, my struggles, my reality. They only know they fear me. That's the totality of what's determining my fate today in this courtroom. Yeah, jury of your peers, but they ain't your peers. They don't know your life, don't share your fears. They just judging from position of privilege and distance. Jury of your peers, that's the resistance to real justice, the fair trial, the being seen. Jury of your peers caught between what's promised, what's delivered by the system. Yeah. My lawyer's good, but even she knows uphill battle. When jury looks at me and only sees the cattle, call on news about crime in my neighborhood. When they look at me, they don't see someone who could be innocent. They see guilt presumed, they see threat. They see everything they've been taught to fear and to object to everything they segregated lies protected them from. Everything they comfortable not understanding, they numb to humanity of people who look like me, who grew up in conditions they can't conceive of, enduring, of surviving, of navigating daily. They can't imagine being stopped by police for walking mainly while black, for driving while black, for existing while black. In spaces they consider theirs, they lack empathy required to judge fairly, to see me as human being, as pure as possibility of innocence, despite prosecution's narrative painting me. Yeah, yo, jury of your peers, but they ain't your peers. They don't know your life, don't share your fears. They just judging from position of privilege and distance. Jury of your peers, that's the resistance to real justice, the fair trial, the being seen. Jury of your peers caught between what's promised, what's delivered by the system. Yeah. Prosecutors painting picture of me as monster, as predator. Is everything wrong with society? As editor of violence and chaos in nice neighborhoods like theirs, he's playing on their fears. They're prepared prejudices, their assumptions about people from my zip code. He's offering them chance to protect their abode from threats like me, from invasion of their comfort. He's making convictions seem like duty, like comfort. They providing to community by removing me from streets, by caging me, by proving decree that people like me don't belong in civil society, that we're animals required contain propriety demands we be separated from them. That's subtext of every argument he makes, every context he provides is designed to dehumanize me, to make jury comfortable with caging me, despite the lack of real evidence, despite my actual innocence. Yeah. Meanwhile, jury deliberating my fate over lunch, discussing guilt like foregone conclusion bunch of strangers deciding my next decade or more based on assumptions, not evidence at the core. Afraid of seeming soft on crime, liberal, protecting communities from people like me unable to see past biases. As jury of my peers, justice system maintain the status quo for years. I already know the verdict, can't predict it by demographics of jury, zip codes, conflicts, thousands of cases with identical outcome. Juries look like this, defendants look like me, handsome lies about peers who ain't peers at all. Past racist stereotypes presume guilt and fault. Question ain't whether innocent, but how long. Sentence built on fear and prejudice, that's wrong. Trial by jury is trial by those most likely to bury you under bias, unsightly inability to see you as human, as innocent until proven guilty, but they knew the verdict before evidence, before testimony entered. The ceremony of injustice entered under guise of justice. Way to history, jury of your peers is mystery. How they call it that? When it's mechanism for continuation of oppression, schism between what's promised and reality.
Justice isn't blind, she peeking. Free to discriminate, to prejudge who you are, not what you did. That's the scar, awaiting verdict from those who will never be in my shoes. Never fear what I fear daily. Judging without empathy, that's penalty of being judged by those who ain't your peers at all. Guilty, just like you knew they'd say. Jury of your peers, who ain't your peers, who never were, who never will be. That's American justice. Yeah, for people like me. Yeah.
Every hustler needs an exit strategy, a plan to get out before the streets take everything. Let me show you mine.
Started saving when I started hustling, that was the plan from day one. Put away 20% of every grand I made, no matter how tempting it was to spend. On jewelry, on clothes, on impressing friends. I stayed focused on the goal, getting out, getting legit. Starting real business, making legal profit. That's sustainable, that don't come with risk of prison. That don't require looking over shoulder living. In constant state of paranoia, in constant fear of robbery, of arrest, of ending career. And body bag of cell, I seen enough to know that street life ain't forever, that you gotta go before it takes you out involuntarily, before you lost your freedom or your life, before you cross the point of no return, before you went too deep to extract yourself. I'm playing for keeps, but keeping what? That's a question I had to answer early.
Exit strategy,
that's the key
to survival, longevity,
to being free,
eventually from streets that don't love you back.
Exit strategies,
staying on track to a legitimate life,
to illegal money.
Exit strategy
ain't nothing funny
about planning your escape before you need it.
Yeah. 3 years in, I got enough saved to start legitimate business, to play a different part in economy and society. In my community, I'm opening barbershop. That's opportunity to employ people, to provide service needed, to transition from illegal to legal. That's pleaded for by everyone who loves me, who's been watching me risk my life and freedom, who's been scotching. My plans to keep hustling, to keep pushing weight. They saying you got enough now, why you wait? To start living right, to stop risking everything. They right, but exiting ain't simple thing. When you got operations running, when you got people depending on you for income, when you stipple of organization, you can't just disappear. You gotta transition slow, you gotta engineer your exit so it don't collapse. Hurry to relax.
Exit strategy,
that's the key
to survival, to longevity,
to being free,
eventually from streets that don't love you back.
Exit strategies,
staying on track to a legitimate life,
to illegal money.
Exit strategy
ain't nothing funny
about planning your escape before you need it.
Yeah. Year 4, barbershop is profitable, legitimate, income stream established, I'm in it. Enough to start withdrawing from street operations, slowly, carefully avoiding complications that come from sudden exits, from leaving voids that others rush to fill, that deploys violence as competing factions fight for territory. I'm transitioning smart, rewriting story of my life from street hustle to businessman, legal, legitimate, following plan I laid out years ago when I first started this journey, before I became cold-hearted by streets, before I lost friends to violence, before I normalized the silence of grief, the numbness required to survive. I'm reclaiming my humanity, I'm alive in ways I forgot were possible when I was deep in game. Verse 4 and ups, yeah. Year 5, I'm completely out, completely clean, legitimate businessman, living the dream I had when young, before streets called, before hustling seemed only way, enthralled by image of street wealth, power, respect, but now I know that's illusion. I reflect on journey from corners to barber chairs, from illegal to legal, from constant fears to sleeping peaceful. Now risking everything, not heading to a collision with system stings, sharing wisdom with young cats where I was, who think they hustling forever because they can't see beyond tomorrow. Next week, I'm showing exit strategy I teach. Streets ain't career, just temporary means. If you smart, if you plan clean from start to leave, if you discipline, not believe in hype, lifestyle that glisten in videos, not mesmerized by materialism and status advertised. I'm living proof exit strategy works, saves your life, transition the perks of legitimate life, sustainable and real exit strategy, that's the deal I made with myself, that's the contract. Got honored despite temptations, a fact. I could've made more in streets, but lost freedom. These barber seats worth more than illegal money, legal life worth more than street life and strife. Exit strategy gave me voice. From freedom, not a cell, my choice saved me from hell, a prison, a grave. Typical lenders, now I pave path for everyone in streets who think they stuck, think defeat inevitable, never considered escape. Measure your life now and create 5-year plan, divide by steps required, execute with pride for your future, freedom, your life. Exit strategy cuts through strife, from streets to legitimate. That's the secret, that's it. That's the key, set me free. 5 years later, different life, same person, but free, legal, legitimate, alive.
Exit strategy,
it works if you work it.
Plan your escape
before you need it.
Streets are temporary,
freedom is forever.
Exit strategy,
that's how you win.